Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera. This is my second video today. I decided to try to do two videos today because I'm quite busy recently and I may not have time to make any videos until the weekend or so. And it's quite busy because I've received a lot of orders from cameras from my online stores. For those of you who have ordered cameras from me, thank you very much. Most of them will go out to be shipped today. The rest will be shipped out tomorrow and the next day, though, of course, any orders I receive between now and then, I'll ship as I get. For those of you who are new to my channel, I sell vintage Japanese cameras at my online store, japanvintagecamera.com, as well as my Etsy store, which is also called Japan Vintage Camera, and I also have an eBay store. So if you're interested in seeing what cameras I have available for sale, I'll post links to my stores in the description below the video. The subject of my video today is going to be about the Konica 1 Rangefinder camera. I know that I've already done a review about these cameras more than a year ago, but I got another one last night, and it's a little bit different from the one which I previously did a review about, so I decided to make a second video. As you can see, it has a very nice leather case, which has held up pretty well over the last, I don't know, 70 years or so. Opening up the top here, you can see the camera here. Quite a beautiful example of a Konica 1. Looking inside the top cover, I can see someone's name written there in kanji. It says Sasaki, so I guess this camera belonged to Mr. Sasaki way back in the day. Given how long people in Japan tend to live, there's more than a fair chance that Mr. Sasaki is still around, so with any luck, maybe he is watching this video. So let me go ahead and take the case all the way off. And as I take it off, you can see that this camera is indeed different from most Konica 1 rangefinder cameras because it has this shutter release attachment located on the front. I've seen these on cameras here in Japan from time to time, but this is the first example I've actually been able to handle or come across or buy. I've really wanted one of these for a long time, but they're rather scarce, this attachment. Sometimes I see it for sale by itself, and sometimes they sell for as much as like $100 here in Japan. Usually they're attached to a camera, and often you can get the camera and the attachment for about the same price. Most people who want one of these already have one of these cameras, so they don't really want to buy a second camera, so the cost of the unit by itself is kind of expensive. The Konica 1 rangefinder camera entered production in the late 1940s, which was kind of an amazing thing when you consider the situation in Japan at the time. The Konica 1 began being manufactured in 1946, which wasn't long after the war ended, and entered something like of mass production in 1947. By the end of 1945, there really wasn't much left of Japan and Tokyo, the industrial areas. There weren't really any factories left standing at that time, and not much in the way of factory machinery and things like that, or even the raw materials necessary to make a camera, so that Konica could produce cameras as early as 1946 and 1947 is quite amazing. And all the more amazing when you consider the quality of these cameras, and it's quite amazing. The earliest versions of these cameras were stamped "Made in Occupied Japan" right across the back of the top cover here. And these tend to be quite popular with collectors here in Japan and fetch fairly high prices. This particular one is also made in Occupied Japan, but this is the second variation where it says "Made in Occupied Japan" embossed in the leatherette on the bottom of the camera. And these are quite a compact camera, like the old Leica rangefinder cameras. And they also feature, I guess, a collapsible lens, which makes it easier to carry one of these cameras in your coat pocket or even your pants pocket if you kind of wear, baggier style pants. The cameras are quite easy to use once you get the hang of them. I'll go ahead and describe the features and functions of the Konica 1, starting at the top. Here we have the film rewind knob. The top cover is pretty much blank. There's nothing on it. No flash shoe adapter. To operate a flash on this camera, you'll need to attach an accessory flash bracket to the tripod socket on the bottom, and you can plug it into the flash socket on the bottom of the lens. This is the older Kodak style socket, so if you want to use a flash with this, you'll have to find one of the old Kodak cords or Kodak adapters. Over on the side here, we have the film winding knob, and underneath the film winding knob is a mechanical frame counter, which you have to reset like the old Leicas by turning it manually. Taking a look at the back of the camera, we have the viewfinder eyepiece. This is removable for cleaning, and you also have to remove it if you take off the top cover to kind of clean out the viewfinder assembly. And this here is winder release. So each time you wind to the next frame, the winding knob will stick or stop, and you have to push the button until it clicks, and that allows you to wind to the next frame. And so on and so on. On the front here, we have the focusing tab located on the bottom, and we have a focusing scale right here under my finger located around the base, which is arranged in meters. And right here at the bottom, there's a moving scale. This is the depth of field scale, and the way it works when you're moving it here is quite convenient. It makes it a little bit easier to use the depth of field scale system, though it's kind of small, and you kind of have to squint to be able to see the small numbers. Moving up to the lens assembly itself, the base of the lens is knurled, and this allows you to turn it and lock it into place more easily. In front of that, we have this hole on the top, this socket, and this is where you can attach a standard cable release, which is a really good feature if you're operating the camera on a tripod or whatever. To the left of that, we have the shutter charging lever. And over on the right here, this is the normal location for the shutter release lever. The reason that this shutter release adapter was introduced was because this shutter release lever was quite easy to accidentally hit when you were trying to, so you're standing behind the camera and you're trying to find the shutter release button, and sometimes you accidentally discharge the shutter when you are trying to find the button, which means, of course, you have to wind on to the next frame, charge the shutter again, and take another photo, which is kind of difficult and annoying. So this is quite an interesting accessory. On the very front here, we have the shutter speed dial, and this camera features the Konica Rapid S shutter, which gives you a maximum speed of 1/500th of a second and a minimum speed of 1 second. And on the bottom here, we have the aperture, button. It's not really a dial, it's just a button which you move to the left or right. And there's an indicator here on the left side which shows you which aperture you have selected. Now it goes to, this is an f3.5 lens, but it tends to travel on a little bit because they use this same system on the Konica Rapid versions, which had an f2.8 lens. This is the earlier version, which has the f3.5 lens. Another giveaway of the early cameras is if you look at the shutter blades on the inside, they're a very beautiful blue color, cobalt blue color. Only the earlier cameras came with this color, and the rest used kind of, the normal, steel blue or black finish. The lens in this camera is the 50mm f3.5 Hexar lens, which was also sold by Konica in the Leica L mount. And I sometimes find those for sale here in Japan. It's quite an excellent performer, and it's every bit as good as the Leica L-Mar, and probably superior, at least in my experience. So you can usually find one of these Konica 1 cameras with this really good Hexar 50mm f3.5 lens for a fair amount less than just the cost of a Leica L-Mar lens. And this camera will produce images as good or better than the old Leicas. So quite a great lens on it. Loading the film on these cameras is quite easy, and it's a little bit similar to the later Konica Letter series cameras. On the side here, we have a dial which you turn, and you turn the O symbol till it lines up with the red dot, and that releases the latch for the film door, and you open it like so. This camera's quite nice, even on the inside. To load the film, of course, you have to push this fork upward to give room for the film canister to fall inside. And there's kind of a V-shaped notch here on the bottom where it catches the bottom of the film canister as well. Once the film canister is inside, push this back down so when you're pulling the film over, the canister doesn't pop out. So pull your film leader over and feed it into one of the slots here in the take-up spool, and then simply turn the winding knob and release it every time it stops by pushing the release lever until the film is winding well on the take-up spool and the holes on the top of the bottom of the film are engaged with the, teeth on the gear here. Once you're all set, close the door and lock it up on the bottom. Also on the bottom here, we have the release here, which you have to push in to rewind the film. And here is the standard 1/4-inch tripod socket. So overall, a really amazing camera. I already have this one listed for sale in my Etsy store, so if you're interested in buying a really interesting and unique Konica one rangefinder camera, especially one in really good condition, it's for sale right now, or at least it's for sale at the time I made this video. I also listed a bunch more, quite a few more cameras last night, so yeah, please check my stores to see the new cameras I have. I have more cameras arriving through the week, and I'll be posting those for sale as I get them, and hopefully making more videos about some of them. If you'd like to see these videos, please subscribe. I'll try to get at least 1 or 2 more made over next weekend. If you like the video, please click the like button. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.